I mean, we've said there about it being like overbearing and parents being overbearing, because I think that's where people go to with perhaps parenting in sport. They think of the overbearing parent, the one that's kind of controlling, perfectionistic, maybe. What about the ones that overpraise, kind of overconfident with the child, and maybe allow their child to live in a less real world to where they're actually at?
It's just as dangerous, isn't it? I'm writing a blog at the moment on toxic positivity, and
Interesting.
I'm having trouble trying to frame it and what it looks like. So I'm working quite hard on that. Yeah, look, I think that's equally damaging. I think that I had a parent a few weeks ago say to me, Gordon, what do I say to my child if they've had a bad game? And it was a live workshop, and I said, "What you mean? Be honest with your kid." And I said, would your parents have told you that you hadn't had a great game? She said, yeah. I said, well, why are we ripping up everything that has ever gone before? Just
Mm.
like anything that's new, why have we decided that any form of parenting or anything that's ever gone as a new generation of parents, just let's rip that up and let's do it our way? Because actually, we do need to have honest conversations with our kids. We do need to be realistic with them. We do need to let them talk in their own. We do need to be able to manage those conversations, and I think that it can be equally as damaging. Letting them get carried away, telling them it's brilliant when it's not brilliant, that's not a good thing either.
Mm.
So being put involved in sport is full of ups and downs. It always has been, always will be. We're not dealing with a new phenomenon here. This is what it's going to look like. We've got to embrace the reality of that more. And we've got to help our kids through the development of those skills, help them to thrive. And if they don't make it in sport, they're going to be really good people who are going to thrive in whatever they end up doing.
Yeah, I think this is where my dad, I kind of will praise him quite a bit for this, is because whenever I had a bad game, and there were many, or there was a setback and things just didn't go my way, he would never really sugarcoat it. He would just say, well, what do you want to do? Like, so he put it on me. What do you want to do? How do you want to get there? And then it was essentially like that car ride home, whether he was consciously doing this or not, or this is just how he was wired. He would say to me, how do you want to make this situation better? Or like, what's the thing you want to work on next, right? And then so now looking back at it, I was kind of going home, yes, getting over disappointment. Oh, I've played a bad game, and yes, those emotions. But then almost by the time I was home, I was kind of excited by the idea of getting to the next training session to put it right. And so
Yeah.
it turned that disappointment into excitement because there was an opportunity to grow and learn from it. Now, I have no idea. I've never really spoken to my dad about his parenting style and like how he did it, because I think one of the best things I've ever been told is parent is a parent for the first time all the time, right? It's whether you've got one kid or 10 kids, like every kid is different. And I have
Yeah.
no idea whether he was consciously doing that. But for me, it worked so well because I was just fueled with motivation for the next time.
Yeah.
And yes, it didn't take away the emotion of it. Maybe there's an argument that I actually hid the emotion too much, but it did give me motivation to the next day training session and try make it right and just give it a crack.
Yeah, look, I think inadvertently, I mean, he's done some brilliant stuff, whether he was aware of it or not. And I think the key to all of that is that asking our children questions that allow them to reflect on their own sporting experience is critical, because kids are amazing. They do start talking. They almost, in many ways, start to talk about finding their own potential solutions. And we've got to ask them questions that allow them to do that
Mm,
rather than be in a rush to right all of the wrongs very quickly, tell them what we think they should be doing and do our way. And I like the stuff that so like Dan Abrahams does here
yeah.
around, I think things like working with your kids around, what would you have given yourself as a score today out of 10? And our kids sort of say, oh, well, I would have given myself an 8. And you can say, okay, then, what would have made it a 9? What would have made it a 5? And children start to understand what that sort of gauge looks like. I like that form of conversation because I think it takes out an element of emotion. But I also think that if we know later on that one of the key psychological characteristics for developing excellence is the ability of our children to effectively evaluate performance, or athletes to evaluate performance. It's a really healthy step for us to take as a parent on a much lesser scale, to be having those conversations. The funny bit is, of course, when you start doing that with your kids and you say, what would you have given yourself today? And the kid goes, oh, I would have given myself 8 out of 10. And you're looking around thinking, you are joking. I would have given that a 4. And the ability not to, because children see the world very differently to adults. But ultimately, we're trying to prepare them for the next stages of life. And there's so much cool stuff we can do and help them out with it as they're going.
Hey, if you've enjoyed that video, then you can click right here to watch the full unedited version of that episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel by clicking the button below. I'll see you soon.